We recap it all now after the rematch went down. Brendan Fitzgerald, Dean Thomas, Gilbert Melendez, Anthony Lionheart-Smith. And, of course, we'll lead off with that main event where Dricus du Plessis defends his belt, improves to 23-2 overall. And now, for the second time, really puts a capstone on his rivalry with Sean Strickland. I know a lot of us were kind of puzzled because Sean Strickland promised a new approach, a more aggressive approach, a more brawling style, and it looked an awful lot like the first one, except not as close, Dean.
Well, we just have to admit it now. We have to admit it. Sean Strickland is not who he says he is. He's not who he says he is. We want him to be something. He wants to be something, but he's not that guy. He's not the guy who's going to go to the death, to the death. He didn't go to the death. He didn't even go to the well. He didn't even go deep. I'm not saying he's not a great fighter. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be where he's at, but he's not who he says he is. We got to admit that.
What do you think, Gil?
Well, I'm just disappointed in the performance as well, but I think du Plessis is what's going down, right? He has the momentum. He went out there and he just took control of the fight, landing the left kicks, just getting ahead of the scorecards immediately. And as soon as Strickland had some good moments, du Plessis answered back. Very disappointed for Strickland's performance. I don't think he's ever going to get this title shot again. I don't even know if he'll have a chance to be on a main event of a pay-per-view again. This is probably the downhill for Strickland and upwards for du Plessis.
Anthony, was the bigger story du Plessis' offense and aggression and his performance in keeping the belt, or Strickland kind of a bit slow over the 5 rounds?
I think DDP is who we think he is. I think he performed exactly how we expected him to. I think his output was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I thought he actually wrestled less than I thought he was going to. I thought he would go more wrestling heavy. This time around, he went less wrestling, less of a wrestling approach. Sean Strickland is a front runner. He has to get out front early. He has to start fast, and he has to start putting rounds in the bank because he's not a guy that can be in second place and start closing the distance. It's not his fault. It's not his style. He doesn't have the one-punch knockout power. He's not a dominant offensive wrestler. He's not a submission guy, and he's just not much of a finisher. So once he loses the first round, I start getting nervous for him. Once he loses the second round, Now I'm really nervous. He has to win the third. If he doesn't win that first, second, and third round, Sean Strickland can't win. And he's at this point in his career, I don't know that that's something he can change, Brendan.
Yeah, to flip onto the DDP side, because we heard what you said, Dean, about Sean Strickland, of course. But what did you think of the champion who defended his belt in style?
And I've always been hard on Strickland. I have, because of his style and the way it looks. But I'll say this about him. He's the classiest champion that we have in the UFC.
DDP.
DDP is the classiest champion we have in the UFC. By far. He says all the right things. He carries himself like a champion, and he fights with the heart of a lion and a champion. He went out there against a guy who said, yeah, we're going to do this. It's a rematch. He put a stamp on it. I was curious to see how this fight was going to play out. He went out there and fought like he wanted it. Even in the 5th round, winning 4 rounds. We always think, okay, if we're winning 4 rounds, the guy's going to back off. He didn't back off. He really tried to knock Sean out even in the 5th round. He did everything he could to make that fight exciting. He didn't have a willing dance partner.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a du Plessis really shine, right? He had the opportunity to go on his bicycle in that 4th, 5th round, yet he continued to push forward and look for the finish. And just like Anthony said, I expected to see some more wrestling, but he didn't have to. He kept control, was winning the round, and every time Strickland had a little bit of momentum, he shut it down, and he answered back with longer combinations, more volume, better tactical fighting, and didn't really have to implement his wrestling. And again, that 4th round, he knocked him in the nose, kept pushing forward, had to tell himself to pump the brakes. Hey, man, I have to pump the brakes. I don't want to push too hard. Man, he's growing before our very eyes, pushing forward. And again in the 5th round, trying to close the show for the audience, doing his best. Look at him here, literally chasing Strickland around the cage. Right here, we're up 3 rounds, 3.5 rounds to 9. We're in the 4th round here, and he could sail away to win, but continues to push, pumps the brakes, realizes he doesn't want to go into anything dangerous, and did a fantastic job, just outclassed, playing chess out there, well-rounded mixed martial artist. Du Plessis is going to be around for a long time.
And that, of course, was the huge shot that broke Sean Strickland's nose. Anthony, I know that you got to love Strickland fixing the nose on the fly there within the action while he's dealing with du Plessis coming after him. I mean,
no one's questioning Sean Strickland's toughness.
Yeah.
He's as tough as they come. He's going to be in any fight that he's in. I was really impressed with DDP's ability to, he knows how hard that first fight was. 5 rounds was strong. I've been in the gym with Sean Strickland before. Even before sparring rounds, I'm a little bit I have to prep myself and say, okay, this is going to suck. It's not going to be very much fun. Du Plessis was in there in a world title fight with him for 25 minutes, And when they started, you could almost see him being prepared, but he looked confident. He's picked right up in the 6th round and kept on going. Sean Strickland seemed like, I'm going to feel it out. I'm going to get a little comfortable here, almost as if he had a little bit of ring rust, which we know isn't true because he's been pretty active. But for DDP to just go in there, have the diverse attack that he had, he's attacking all 3 levels, head, body, and legs, switching stances, not backing up at all. Strickland is the best when he can move forward. If you meet him in the middle, that is a fight for the center. That's a hard fight to be in for 25 minutes, and that's what Strickland does the best, and he continued to stay in that fight the entire time.
Yeah, we spoke about the variety of weapons coming from DDP, which even if the striking numbers are the same, if one guy's throwing a spinning elbow, a lot of leg kicks, and coming up top with some big punches, which DDP was, that's going to mean a lot to the judges.
Absolutely. Volume and just attempting to finish the fight. Maybe the volume numbers don't add as much as the strikes landed, but the fact that he's going for it, the fact that he's trying to follow, when he lands a big punch and a jab, he continues to follow up. When he's pressing forward, spinning elbow, spinning back fist, just trying to make things happen. That's, as a fighter, I admire that. I admire him going there. And I wanted to ask you something about Strickland. You talk about him in the gym, that he's banging in the gym. Sometimes you have these gym fighters who really let their hands go out there, and I'm wondering if Strickland just doesn't really, want to stay in the pocket and duke it out, or he's scared to get knocked out there, but, letting the hands go in the gym, so tell me, is he letting it go more in the gym than he's doing there? Or?
It's very similar to how he fights. It's just constant forward pressure. And it's hard to see. When we're watching this on TV and you're watching it at home, it's hard to see the nuances that are going on there. But you never really see Strickland take a step back unless he's being attacked, and then he's right back forward. It's almost like an invisible pressure. You can't see it, but you can feel it the whole time. And so watching how DDP dealt with it is really, really impressive because he never stepped out of the fire, shook it off, took a little bit of a breath, and then stepped back into it. He just stayed in it the whole time. That's really impressive, and it's hard to do because I've tried to do that in the gym, 25 or 30 pounds heavier than Sean, and sometimes even I have to step out and say, I am so sick of this pressure. It gets old. And I have more space when you have an entire big gym and you're rolling around. Like, they're inside of a cage, and there's a little bit of distance that they have.
Sean Strickland did pass Michael Bisping for most significant strikes landed in middleweight division history. So a bit of a silver lining to that. Of course, it's not a moral victory in this case. He was fighting for a title, and he didn't get it. You kind of just saw over the course of the rounds, Eric Nicksick kept saying, I need more, I need more, I need more, until the 5th round. It was like, you got to finish him.
And that's my point. Listen, that is my point. As a coach, I feel for Eric Nicksick because I know what that's like, and I don't even want to go and be in that situation again. I know I'm hard on Sean Strickland. I know it, but it's because I'm cheated. I feel cheated by you. I hear about these gym stories and these wars that you get into. I hear about how great you are, and then you go in these fights, these high-level fights, and you give us that. You cheat us. You jab and you kick, and I know you're capable of much more. We want to see that. That's what I want to see from Sean Strickland. I don't want to see him jab his way to losses. I want to see him give me what he's capable of. I want to see the full potential of Sean Strickland.